Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris, and today we are going to be finally fixing up these holes in the city, both right here as well as over there, and then around the city as well. We're going to be adding some switches. The other day, I got this whole jumbled mess in the mail here from TrixBrix. I went ahead and I filmed a video about it and my experience with TrixBrix, and then also the price, the quality, and everything like that. So if you're interested in checking all of that out, make sure to click the video in the top right corner of the screen. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick overview of everything that I got here, and then we're going to go ahead and add it into the city. So this is everything that I got here laid out. Obviously, I did not get the trains and the locomotives and the rolling stock and all of that. That's from my own collection, but this is what I got here. So you can see that I got two switches, and also all of the modules that are usually here are on the floor because I needed space to make this video. But these two switches here, one is a right crossover switch and the other is a left. I bought these for the train station and then also that extra siding over there. So then these will work perfectly with that. So I bought one of these, both the left and the right, like I said, and I bought the ballast plates to go underneath them, and the ballast plates are currently underneath the track. The switches themselves were included along with four of the 8 stud segments of TrixBrix track with each set here, I'll call it. I added in my own official Lego 16 stud long segments of track just to make it even on either end. This is actually 40 studs long instead of 48. But moving on over here, now we have 2 of these left curves here, and you can see how an official Lego switch wants to curve back to make the lines parallel with each other, whereas this just curves straight out. You can make this do what that does with these pieces right here. These are actually not straight 4 stud long segments. There's actually a little bit of a curve in it, as you can see, but I set those off to the side because I'm not really going to need them, and this is going to be perfect for this section right here. So this is going to fit perfectly right in there. That's going to follow that line perfectly. I just have to add one more straight segment of track there, and then that is that. And then there's going to be one there, and then one right down there next to the Ferris wheel and the basketball court. So that is all good to go. And then the other pieces that you can see here, I bought 9 of these track segments here, the 8 stud segments, but I only bought one individually. And then, like I said, 4 of these came with this switch track, and then 4 came with the other switch track. And then the 10th one I actually got for free. They sent a free gift with my order, which was very kind of them. And also, as you can see here, I bought 3 4 stud long segments of track, 2 2 stud long segments, and 2 1 stud long segments right there, just in case I ever need them. I thought they'd be pretty interesting to have, and also just good filler in the event I ever do need it. And then, so the final thing here, while I did not buy this switch from them, this was from my own collection, I bought the ballast plate that goes underneath it. And you guys can see in that review of the TrixBrix stuff that I bought here, I had a less than positive experience with this simply because of the lack of clutch power on each of the items here. And so that was pretty unfortunate to see. But hopefully by the end of this video, this track will be in the city, and then I won't have to pick it up again, and then the clutch power will actually be an issue. So hopefully that problem gets solved, but if not, I might contact their customer support to see if this is an error or if that was intentional. So now that we've gone over each of the pieces that I had bought, we are going to start adding them to the city. The first of which is going to go right here. I'm going to take this one base plate out here, and we are going to add the switch track in. I'm starting with this one because this seems like the easiest out of all of them to do. So let me take this out and we can just do everything right here. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, so I went ahead and I took out these 2 segments that went down here, and the rest of this should be pretty straightforward. I just added this in and also the straight piece in. So that is what the module is going to look like once it's done. I just need to go in and add the ballast under the switch track and also this straight piece right here. And I also need to go in and add all of the 1x1s that are missing in here. I did buy those in a Bricklink order recently, so we can go ahead and we can add those in. So that is going to be all good, and then we can also fill in that gap there. But with that being said, let me grab some pieces to ballast this, and hopefully this won't be too bad. I've never had to ballast third-party pieces before. I guess we'll see how that goes. All right, so after a lot of trial and error, this switch track is basically in. I just need to go in and add the extra 1x1s, 1x2s, and then a couple of 2x4s down at the end here. But pretty much this is how I want it. I surprisingly didn't need to reference the L gauge standard, which is what all of my track is based on. They don't make an official set of instructions for the modified switch tracks here, but I just went in and I used a bunch of dark gray tiles underneath, and that seemed to get the job done pretty well. And then as you can see right over here, I just had to use a couple wedge plates and then things like that. It's not the prettiest, but it gets the job done and it works. And so now pretty much all I need to do is, like I said, add in those couple extra pieces and then add the foliage back, and this section should be all good to go. As for this section right over here on the right, where the light gray base plate is showing through, I don't exactly know what's going to go here. It might just end up being green space. It might just end up being a bunch of random plate just sitting there. Not totally sure about that yet. So if you guys have any ideas for this little awkward space, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But with that being said, this was very tedious. I'm happy I bought the ballast plates for the double switches, so that is going to be very much easier than this was. But hopefully the second time I do this, when I have to do the switch by the basketball court and the Ferris wheel, hopefully that goes a little bit smoother than this does. All right, so I went in and I added the couple little details that were left, and I placed it in the city now. So the whole base plate is in. And as you can see, the track is now all connected through here as well as down through this way. I had to take this module out just so I could build over here, but this is looking really, really good. I'm going to go back in and add the ties at a later date. I just want to get the track in and then run the trains on them because I'm really, really excited to do that. And so the next thing that we're going to do, while it's not required to make the trains run, I want to work over here. I have the switches and also the ballast plates for them. So in theory, this should be pretty easy to do. I just need to take out this base plate that starts here and then ends 3 track segments down right here. I need to take this one out along with the one right next to it, and then we're going to add the ballast in, or the train track, and also the ballast, and then we're going to go down here and we're going to do the same over here. So we're going to start down here. Hopefully this will be pretty easy just because I have to take out this one base plate and then I can just move the rest of them as needed. So in theory this should be pretty easy, but I guess we'll see how that goes. All right, so I have these 2 modules over here now. And so basically, for those of you that missed the videos where we were working on the train tracks here in the city, basically these 2 lines here are 4 studs apart because of the old train engine shed at the end of the siding here. And so I want to have switches between these 2 lines. One, to have access to this line so that trains can be on the main line and also access the engine shed. But 2 is so that I can have a train in the station and then trains can bypass that other train in the station. So that's why we're doing this, and also that is why this track here is ballasted a little bit differently than normal. So half of the ballast is on this one base plate and then the other half is here. So I think I'm gonna have to connect these 2 base plates together. That's probably the easiest solution here, as opposed to trying to keep everything separate and then having everything be kind of off. So I'm going to take the track out. I'm going to take this ballast out from the middle. I'm going to grab a whole bunch of tiles, and then we are going to get to work on that ballast track right there. So in theory, this should be pretty easy because I already have the ballast plate. I just have to make sure that the ballast plate is supported under each of the connection points. So with that being said, we are going to get started on that right now. I don't think I'm going to have to modify anything else. It's just going to be these 2 tracks right here. I am going to need to use some of these right here. These are the 8 stud long segments of track that TrixBrix included in the switch set. And so basically, since this is only 40 studs long as opposed to 48, which is the standard large gray base plate size, I'm going to need to use one of these on the end just to make everything even with the base plate. And then so that is pretty much going to be that there. So with that being said, I'm going to get started on this, and I will let you know how easy this is compared to the other switch right over there. All right, so I have the entire section in now, and I think this looks pretty good. There is a couple of spots like right here where you can see a little bit of the underlying stuff poking through. But overall, this was a different experience, I'll say that, from the other switch without the ballast. But this had its own set of challenges, namely the fact that a lot of the ballast pieces didn't want to stay attached to the track, and so I was trying to balance that, and it was just making it way harder than it needed to be. But overall, I think this went a little bit smoother than the switch that we had done over there. And so with that being said, before we do the other one, I want to test fit this and run the train over it just to see if that is going to work. It should work. It shouldn't have any issues, but I just want to double check before we get any further in case I have to redo something here. But these switches do still work here, which is good to see. And then I'm probably just going to leave them open like this, and then that is pretty much that there. So then the trains can just come around, or if they're coming this way, then they can just go through, and then that will just open like so. So it's not the end of the world, and I think that's going to be fine. So with that being said, let's test fit this in the city, and we'll see how it looks. All right, so I have the Orient Express coach here just as a tester, and so pretty much we're just going to take this, and it works just fine. So that's good. I added the 8 studs onto this back section here, just so that the train that's in the platform had a little bit more space here. I don't think it needed to be on the outside over here. I don't think that would have made a difference, honestly. So I think this is fine as it is. This is not perfect, obviously. I would have loved to have had a more gradual thing, or even this kind of cross over and then go straight into the curve, and then we could have the switch down here. But then it would have been bridging 4 base plates, and I don't think that would have worked out that great. And so this is fine as it is. I think this is going to work perfectly fine. And so with that being said, I have to actually disassemble all of the rest of the modules so I can get access to that. I could start from the other end, actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, but I guess it doesn't really matter, because now we need to go in and we need to modify this right here. And if I remember correctly here, this is the edge of one base plate here. And then so I need to take out this 16 by 48 that ends right here. And then I also need to take out this 48 by 48 right here. But this has the curved track on it. So what I might do is take out this base plate as well, and then I might bridge them together. Not totally sure what I'm going to do about that, but that is what this video is for, I guess. So I'm going to start with just these two, and then I'm going to try and play around and see if I can make this work on this one base plate. And the worst case, I can just bring this other one over and we can take it from there. So I have these 2 base plates over here now, and what I could actually do is just have the switch and then an 8 stud segment on this side. And then for this, I just have the switch here overhang by 8 studs on that other base plate. And I could just put tiles underneath that other section there just so it's not fully attached. And then I can just put this ballast plate on that other base plate there, and then that would pretty much be fine. So I think that's perfectly fine. I think I'm actually going to end up going with that. So with that being said, I'm going to rip up the track and I am going to get started on this. And then once this section is done, I can rip out the other section and then we can take it from there. All right, so I've gone ahead, and this section was actually much easier to do, I guess because I did the first one already. But this one went together really, really simply. And then I also have the curve in here, and then this is pretty much all good to go. I did also go in and add some of the ballast ties as well, and I think that really helps tie everything together. But I unfortunately don't have any 1x2s to add to the middle here, so I'm gonna have to probably order some. I definitely have a couple, but not enough to finish even just one of these switches, so I'm just gonna have to go and buy a bunch of them, and I think some 1x3s as well, but I'll worry about that later. Let's place this in the city, and then we can see how this looks, and then we can modify that other base plate as well. All right, so before we place this in, I had to first modify these base plates over here. And so as you can see, this one now has the ballast plate in it. And then this one here has the 2 normal track segments and then the 8 stud segment right here. And then these 8 studs are going to be where the switch is. And then so this is also still separatable, which is good. And then so I can just clip that in. And then in theory, you should be able to just drop the other section in and just slide it in and connect it all up. So that is what we are going to do right now. All right, so as you can see, this actually slid in really, really easily. I just had to add 1 extra tile under here to help cover up the base plate. And the only thing is that technically this end of the switch here is connected to the studs of the ballast on this side. But that should be an easy enough fix to just lift that up and then disconnect the track segments. So that is pretty much that. And so now this whole section here from the front all the way down is good to go, except for the ballast, or the rail ties, I mean, but not worried about that. And then coming this way is one other thing. Well, I had to remove this just to get all these base plates apart, but this is not going to be going back in here. This is going to get replaced by the ballast plates that I had bought and shown off in that TrixBrix review video. And so we are actually going to be replacing this because, as you can see, this has a bunch of holes in it. It doesn't look that great. And also, when you have ballast tracks on an angle, it just doesn't really look all that good. So let me go and grab those ballast plates and we can add this in. This should be an easy fix. I say that now. Hopefully it actually is an easy fix, but let's see how this goes. All right, so this was actually the easiest fix of the day so far. This went in very, very smoothly. As you can see, it's not actually attached, and so I have to kind of wiggle it in, but that's not a problem. I just have to go in and fix up these little details in here for the ballast itself. But the tiles underneath are supporting it just fine, and so that is pretty much that there. So I'm going to connect the track up, and then this entire side of the city will be good to go. And then we just have to do the one final section over by the Ferris wheel and the basketball court, and then the trains will be ready to run. All right, so I went ahead and I got the rough layout going here. So as you can see, it is the modified switch, a piece of straight track over here, and then the Ferris wheel is going to be right here, and then these two curved segments right here, which already partially have ballast on them. I just need to go in and finish that up. Basically do all of this here and then also all of this over here. So I got a lot of work cut out for me. So with that being said, I'm just going to get right to it. And hopefully this will be pretty quick since we've already done one before. But you never know. I guess we'll find out right now. All right, so as you can see, I went ahead and I finished it up. I just need to do a little bit more detail on the ballast, and I also completely ran out of the 1x2 rail plates, so I need to order a bunch in dark gray as well as light gray for the apartment building there, but that is going to be fixed another day. For now, it is in the city, and I moved the cargo train out of the way, as you can see, and yes, there is still a big mess here. Don't worry about it. We are going to run the train, and we're going to start with the Horizon Express here. So I have the Orient Express next to the station, and then as you can see, I have the switches oriented correctly, it looks like. So then the train, in theory, will go around it, and then come this way, and then go around the whole city. So with that being said, we are going to start, let me see. Yep, that point is all good. So we are going to get that started right now. I am really excited about this. This is the first time that trains are going around this new city layout. I haven't tested this yet, so hopefully these tracks actually work out here. I am extremely excited for this. And it looks all good. And it's very smooth too, which makes me very happy. So as you can see, now the Horizon Express is going around the city once more. I'm very happy with this. I think this looks great. So with that being said, that is going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys are even half as excited as me, make sure to like the video and subscribe, as well as click the bell notification so you don't miss any future uploads, like going in and finishing adding the rest of the details to the track layout and also expanding the track layout in the very near future. If you guys have any feedback for me on anything you want me to add to the city layout, or if there's any trains that you want me to run, make sure to drop a comment down below to let me know. And once again, seriously, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna let the train run for one more lap around here, and then I will sign off. But that is it from me. So seriously, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.